time, we're going to move forward right to citizens participation, and then we'll come back to commissioner reports and reports from county staff. So we have any citizens here today care to participate? Last chance. Yes, sir. Please come forward. State your name and address. How are you this morning?
I am doing very well. My name is Carlos Malat, and I'm here today as a representative of the Maryland State Education Association and the Washington County Teachers Association. I'm here reading some comments that were submitted to you by email by President Neil Becker. So I'm just going to read his comments, if you don't mind. Is that right? All right. Sorry, my eyes are a little not as good as they used to be. All right. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. Congratulations to the commissioners who were reelected to serve another term. Thank you, Commissioner Myers and Commissioner Barr, for your service to Washington County. Public service, especially elected office, can be challenging and thankless, and you are to be commended for your willingness to run for office. So thank you for your service. This week, the nation celebrates American Education Week. I'm honored to represent the certified staff, teachers, counselors, social workers, therapists, etc., who educate the students of Washington County Public Schools. The dedicated educators of Washington County are committed to the achievement and success of the students they serve. I thank educators for all they do for the students of Washington County. County departments and local agencies that rely on county commissioners to fund budgets are drafting budgets as I speak. They're all wondering how they will maintain and improve their services without cutting staff or programs. The equipment purchases are being postponed. Program additions have been halted. Police agencies and fire companies are examining staffing ratios and response times. As with other agencies, WCPS has trimmed its budget as thin as it can while still providing instructional programs and staff our students deserve. New pre-K programs, changing demographics, the impact of the opioid crisis, and many other variables have filled the plates of teachers and support staff. More counselors are required to meet students' mental health needs. More paraprofessionals are needed to assist students with intellectual disabilities. Small class size achieved by increasing the number of classroom teachers is proven to improve student achievement. We believe and hope that Dr. Michael will submit a budget that reflects the needs of our county students. We cannot educate the next generation of leaders with pinch pennies. This election season, candidates touted their desire to boost economic development, which will increase revenues, which will aid all who rely on the county for funding, future development, future employment, future revenues. Unfortunately, the needs are here today. Fire companies need help now. Police agencies need recruits now. Meals on Wheels has a waiting list now. County departments need to be fully staffed and equipped now. Students need a fully staffed school system now. To the returning commissioners and those beginning new terms soon, the time to explore revenue enhancements is now. Our students, our county, cannot afford to be low effort yet again this year. Thank you for your time.
What was your address, Mr. Malott?
My home address is 77 Amanda Drive in Smithsburg, Maryland. Our office address is 18047 Oak Ridge Drive.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, any other citizens here today care to participate? Good. Okay, that concludes citizens participation. General Fund Contingency Grant Request, Keedysville Community Center. Ms. Buchanan. That's the old agenda. Let me get to the new agenda. I have too many agendas in here. Sorry about that. Here we go. That's the first I've done that one. Okay, National Apprentice Week, November 12th through the 19th. We have a proclamation, and that'll be Mr. Dan DeVito. You could provide us some information on the request, and then we'll present the proclamation.
Good morning. With me, I have Lacey Capshaw, the administrative assistant for the division. And I asked her to come up here with me because this is a result of our participation in this program is a direct result of her hard work and all the organization that she had to do and bring everybody together to make this happen. This is National Apprentice Week, and I think, as you all know, we talked a little bit about it this morning, about the importance of having a trained workforce in the area. And in the wastewater and water industry, it's estimated that 50% of the workforce is of retirement age and will retire in the next 3 to 4 years. So where do we get the people that have the skills and the talent and the training to replace those people that are retiring? So we identified that as the apprenticeship program in Maryland. And the apprenticeship program in Maryland, again, is a program that the Governor Hogan, when he was first elected, set a goal of 10,000 apprentices by the time his first term was up. And I can tell you that I was at a meeting of the National, or the Maryland State Apprentice Council, and at that meeting, they were celebrating the 10,000th apprentice. So that is a goal that has been realized. In Washington County here, we're very lucky because the youth apprenticeship program was identified as a way to create a pipeline to bring those young students in and to interest them into what is more considered to be a non-traditional apprentice program. And because of his dedication and his determination that we were going to make this work, actually Washington County Public Schools and the VOTEC program was the pilot that developed the program that's being used all over the state. And before I go too far, because you know I have a tendency of doing that, and this is something that I'm very passionate about, that I'm very excited about. You don't usually see me excited. This is it. I mean, this is about as excited as I get. But this program is very instrumental, and it's critical to the development of the workforce in Washington County. And we've identified a youth apprentice that we're going to bring into our lab. And I think at this point, I'm going to introduce Wendy Moore, who's the youth apprentice coordinator with Washington County Public Schools. And this young lady that we are going to hire into our lab has to be successful with this kind of support. When you see the number of people that they've brought from the VOTEC program that are interested in this program and interested in this young lady who's an outstanding student that you'll see in a minute. So Wendy, would you like to introduce everyone?
Good morning. We have here Colleen White. We're very excited to have her as the new youth apprentice with Washington County.
And Colleen's here with her mother.
Colleen's mother is here, yes. Her counselor, Lauren Silke Parker, who has worked really hard to bring this placement to fruition. And I'm sorry, Mr. Compton from South Hagerstown High School.
So these are the people that we are going to be working with. The VOTEC, Wendy and her staff vet the students. We develop a job description, and we posted it through her department, and then the students have to go through their counselor, have to be recommended by their counselor to the program, and then Wendy and her people actually talk to the people and make sure that they're the appropriate fit for what we want to see and what we need in our department. And then they send them over to us and we talk to them. And when we talked to Colleen, we were all pretty much blown away with the quality and just the outstanding accomplishments of someone that young. She's a senior. It's South High, is it? Yes. Colleen, you want to say just a few words? Just briefly. I know she's scared to death.
You want to tell them what your position will be? And what your background is that qualified you to work with the county?
I'll be a lab technician assistant for the Washington County Environmental Management Department. And what qualified me for this was actually the fact that I've been interested in science. I was actually a very young age, since I was the only child that was left alone by a technician father. So I grew up always having to mix volatile potions and being very interested in seeing chemical reactions for stuff. and trying to say, how can I include these things? Can I take it apart and find out how it works? So that geared me to actually have a love for science. And as such, I've been working in the lab since I was actually in the 9th grade, because at my old school, we started working in the lab at a very young age, where I think that's where most of our classrooms take place. And then I took AP biology. I've already finished my chemistry, my physics and biology, sorry. And I
She did very well in her interview. She did very well. We also want to introduce Dr. Pugh from Washington County Public Schools. We have Stephen Garland and Cody. We're Wendy's staff.
So again, you can see the level of support that is available through the Washington County VOTEC program and through the Youth Apprentice program. All this week, we will be promoting it, and Friday, we're having a lunch, and I hope that as many of you as possible that can attend that lunch, and we'll be talking a lot more about it. We'll have some people from DLLR there to talk about the full-blown apprentice program. Susan Small from our department on Thursday is speaking at the workforce development at HCC. This is all part of this program, and it's all part of the effort to really have a top-notch quality workforce in Washington County, so that when the efforts that you all make to bring companies here, to decide to bring their company here and to bring their staffing and to bring that kind of investment in the county, that we are able to provide them with a quality trained workforce. So with that, if you'd like to present the
Yes, sir. Well, we do have a proclamation to present. I'd like to ask Commissioner Barr to be the presenter. And congratulations and best of luck. And the Washington County Technical High School is one of the finest high schools in Washington County. So congratulations.
They have great retired teachers, right?
They have, well, I don't know about great. They have retired teachers. I just don't know about great.
Why don't you all?
Lucky.
Commissioners, I'm very pleased to present this proclamation this morning. I myself am a product of an apprenticeship program many years ago, and in those early years it was in conjunction with Hagerstown Community College. So I know the hard work, I know the dedication combined with both actual on-the-job training and the apprenticeship program can be very challenging and grueling at best. This proclamation is registered Apprenticeship Week, November the 11th through the 17th. Whereas the demand for skilled workers continues to increase, the modern registered apprenticeship system is a proven method to meet this demand and helps Washington County prepare for economic development and economic growth. And whereas apprenticeship is a unique, flexible training system that combines job-related technical instruction with structured, paid, on-the-job learning experience, contributed to increased hiring rates and lower unemployment by adding to the number of trained workers. And whereas registered apprenticeship training programs prepare workers to compete in our changing economy, and the training keeps pace with advancing technologies and work-based initiatives. And whereas there are approximately 10,000 active apprentices training in the state of Maryland, sponsored by employers, businesses, and unions, and whereas Washington County Employers, Washington County Division of Environmental Management, and Washington County Public Schools are participating in both registered apprenticeship and junior apprenticeship programs, teaching skills that result in rewarding careers and licenses to earn a viable and living wage. Now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, do hereby proclaim November 12 through 18, 2018, Registered Apprenticeship Week in Washington County, and do encourage our citizens to join in the observance. Congratulations.
All of the commissioners?
Can you see everyone? Good. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you.
See Leslie Hart here. Okay. Okay, next on the agenda, the presentation of a certificate from Palmero Farm. And Leslie Hart's with us today, along with Susan Small, and we'd like to ask both of you to come forward and give us a little overview of the certificate. Leslie Hart. Oh, there you are. Thought I saw you earlier. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. So another success story from the Department of Business Development. I have been honored to watch this family for over 50 years. I had the opportunity to briefly know the patriarch and matriarch of the Shank family, but more importantly, I had the honor of knowing the children, John, Ralph, Bobby, and Geneva, all successful farmers and advocates for the agricultural industry. The next generation was on the scene, continuing in the dairy traditions and commitment to the agricultural lifestyle. Well, now there are babies on the farm, as this fifth generation is continuing the dedicated traditions and practices. Palmero Farm, which I think most of you know about their wonderful cheese, located just south of Hagerstown, is a Holstein and Ayrshire dairy operation that has multiple business ventures, all rooted in the commitment to excellence in agriculture. Mary Creek and her brother Ralph Shank have spent their entire lives with a focus on superior genetics, top herd production, quality show cows, feeding only the best total mixed rations, and educating, sharing, and growing the dairy and farming trade. Palmero, Holstein, and Ayrshire cattle genetics have been sold globally, adding to the quality of the best beverage milk. And the next generation of Creeks and Shanks continue the tradition. Michael, Mark, Evan, Jordan, Aaron, and Ryan work in the agricultural industry, taking the foundation set forth by their great-grandparents. So coming off of the World Dairy Expo, now is the perfect time to recognize an agricultural leader in our community with a certificate recognizing the accomplishments of these families and Palmero Farm on the national and global level. Ruth, a spoiled, pampered Ayrshire cow, are they smiling? Yes. Has set the standard for her breed, and she has the awards to prove that standard. Ruth is just another example of the top quality breeding that continues to be born at the Palmero Farm year after year. And I believe you have the proclamation.
Knowing something about the Shanks as myself, as I grew up around a lot of the other Shanks. But before I do the presentation, just the other day, we were riding down the road, and my stepdaughter asked me, "What is that cow right there?" And I have to be honest, I I thought it was an ale shower, not an air shower. And then I was starting to give her the description between, you know, I did know that air shower is from Scotland, but Holstein is more, I guess, a larger producer of milk, maybe not as good, okay, and volume. And then the other one is your, what's the other brown one? Jersey? So what's a Jersey?
Jersey's from a small island in the British Channel, the English Channel, the Isle of Jersey. It's
How's it fixing?
high butterfat.
High butterfat, okay. So which one does the Land of Lakes want? What do they? Land of Lakes, they don't they?
Take them all, yeah.
Oh, they will? Okay, well, I thought I knew something. Higher the butterfat, okay. That's our little, and the biggest question is, does Ruth have its own special stall? No, okay.
She does it herself.
Okay. Well, we have a certificate of appreciation. We, the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, commend you for your dedication to the air shower cattle nationally and globally. The certificate is an appreciation of your families and Palmero Farm's tireless and limited dedication to the air shower breeding cattle. The Shankin Creek families, along with Palmero, I can't say the word, Berkeley, P. Ruth, E.T. has set the standard for air shower breed, both nationally and internationally. Thank you for revealing Washington County's rich agricultural community to the national and global stage. Thank you.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. All the commissioners, when you're ready.
Okay, commissioners?
All right, are we ready? Bunching together. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you.
Okay, the Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Program, also known as MALP, 60/40 match for 2019. Mr. Seifert?
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you today?
Good. Each year we come before the commissioners to request participation in what's called the 60/40 match. The Maryland Ag Preservation Foundation splits their funds into two parts. The first part gets divided equally among all 23 counties. The other half is for only those counties that are participating in the 60/40 match. The state will match up to $2 million for any county that has up to 1.33 million. We don't have that much. Our request today is for $280,000 for our 40%. $80,000 of that is coming from the ag transfer tax, and the other $200,000 is from the installment payment program real estate transfer tax. The commissioners had approved last year that we could divert half of those funds to the 60/40 match to leverage what we have. So if this amount is approved today, the total funding for this year for Washington County will be about $1.65 million. Are there any questions?
Okay, if we don't have any questions, we need a motion for the approval of the recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second for the recommendation. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Seifert. Okay, the approval of clothing and shoe collection program, Mr. Mason. Morning, how are you today? Good.
Good morning. I'm bringing today the approval of the clothing and shoe collection program at the landfill and transfer sites. We've developed a list of consignment shops, thrift stores, and nonprofits who collect clothing and resell for various reasons. Our goal is to collect these shoes and clothes for these, or allow them to collect them at our facilities. And then that will give us a diversion program to go along with our recycling program. Our MRA rate, which is Maryland Recycling Act rate, is calculated by the state, and it's how they determine if we're following the state guidelines for recycling, and diversion is a part of that. So diversion rate just means anything that we are not landfilling but finding another use for will also help our numbers. So what we're planning on doing is allowing vendors to apply, and then we will award certain vendors to come in at either 40 West landfill or transfer stations, put in a collection box, and collect clothing and shoes for their businesses. This will be monitored so that we're not getting a lot of garbage thrown into their bins. They will be asked to sign a contract so that they understand all the rules and regulations, know what their responsibilities are at our facilities. This will be a free program to citizens of Washington County. It will not cost them to drop anything off, and we will not charge the vendors to, put a box on any of the facilities either. Any questions at this point?
Okay, if we don't have any questions from the commissioners, need a motion to move forward as recommended.
So moved.
Second? Second. Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
The enhanced nutrient removal at the Washington County's wastewater treatment plant, Mr. Bradshaw.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a change order request here. It's for Buckhart Horn in the amount of $140,126, and also a budget adjustment form of $150,000 we're here to request approval on. The Conic Jig project was an 18-month construction project, but due to change orders, the actual construction time was extended by additional 4 months, of which Buckhart Horn did provide the inspection services for that additional time, and now they're requesting a change order to be compensated for that time. Also, a couple months ago, I was in here for a change order for Conica Jig, and Commissioner Myers, you brought up the one item of the explosion-proof blower, not heater. If you look at Buckhart Horn's letter, they are providing us a credit in their proposal of $3,100 against that change order. That was a design flaw that they did not call out properly in their specifications.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Bradshaw?
Motion to approve.
Okay, I don't have to ask for a motion. We have a motion on the floor. We need a second.
Second.
Motion and a second for the recommended motion approval. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. Property acquisitions for the Mousetown Road Culvert Project. Mr. Moser, how are you this morning?
Good morning, how are you?
Good, good.
Todd Moser, Real Property Administrator, Mousetown Row, fee simple and easement acquisitions. Move to approve the option agreements for fee simple and easement acquisition of 20815, 20912, and 20977 Mousetown Road, and to approve an ordinance approving said purchase and to authorize the execution of the necessary documentation to finalize the acquisition. Option agreements have been executed for the 3 above stated properties. Both the fee simple and easement acquisitions are shown in the table below. The Mousetown Road culvert project will replace existing culverts with a new concrete box culvert and pipe culvert. The road culverts will be constructed to carry 2 lanes of traffic. Replacement of the culverts at this time is the most cost-effective and practical alternative. The structures are in poor condition and in need of replacement. Both temporary construction easements and fee simple acquisitions are needed for the project.
Okay, any questions from the commissioners?
So moved.
Motion and a second for the approval of the recommendation. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Process for collection of tap fees associated with permits. Mr. Long, Ms. Greaves, Mr. DeVito. Don't let Mr. DeVito talk.
I think you've heard enough from me. haven't
We've
you?
heard enough from you. Yeah, just
Good
just
morning.
joking now.
Good morning. As you know, one of the primary roles of the Division of Plan Review and Permitting is the processing and issuance of building and trade permits in the county for building projects. The county also processes permits for some of the municipalities in the county as well. In some cases, we process both building and trade permits, and in other cases, we process just trade permits. For the towns of Smithsburg and Keedysville, we process just trade permits. We take building and trade permits for Boonesborough, Clear Spring, Funkstown, Sharpsburg, and Williamsport. Hancock and Hagerstown process their own permits. Currently, the county requires that a permit application involving property in a town be signed by the town manager or other designated town official prior to the county permitting office accepting the permit application. For those permits that involve water and sewer allocation, it's historically been considered the town's responsibility to collect any applicable utility or allocation tap fees. In the case involving permits for property in the county outside of the municipalities, the permit application must be accompanied by allocation receipts from the service provider at the time of permit application. Applications without these receipts are not accepted. So that's our current process for involving permits outside of municipalities in the county. So consistent with the county commissioner's direction, on October 30th, staff will begin confirming allocation and payment of any applicable utility tap fees that involve county water and or sewer facilities prior to the acceptance of town building permit applications. This would be accompanied via attachment of a paid receipt or letter of acknowledgement from the utility service provider. And just a reminder, not all building permits involve utility taps or allocations, so it would only be a fraction of the total permits that we process. This method is consistent with the long-established practice of assuring allocation and payment of tap fees associated with permits, building permits issued in the county. So that is just our proposal for moving forward to address the issue of building permits and the associated tap fees.
That'll sort of clean things up like we discussed last week with Williamsport.
Correct.
Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, that was for information. We do appreciate your information, and thank you for participating.
Thank you.
Okay, revisions to the Washington County, Maryland's Americans with Disabilities Act, also known as the ADA. It's a grievance procedure. Ms. Payton?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And Mr. Hobbs, good morning.
Good morning. The board is presented with the revisions to the 1992 adoption of the Washington County, Maryland's Americans with Disabilities Act grievance procedure for approval. Pursuant to requirements of applicable federal law, on January 14, 1992, the county adopted the Washington County, Maryland's Americans with Disabilities Act grievance procedure. The procedure has been revised to update information to provide complainants with specific information required for filing complaints and to detail timelines for filing and response. On Section A of the ADA, Title II Coordinator has been revised to reflect the contact information of Deb Payton at 240-313-2356 at dpayton@washco-md.net. Section B, complaints have been revised to include a list of required information needed to file a complaint. Section C, filing time and frames and procedures have been revised to reflect the new ADA Title II Coordinator's contact information and increased amount of time from 30 days to 180 days for filing a complaint. Section E, disposition and record retention has been revised to reflect the increased amount of time from 15 days to 30 days in which the ADA Title II Coordinator has to respond to a complaint. In instances where a complainant is dissatisfied with the resolution of a complaint, the amount of time in which the complainant has to file a request for reconsideration has increased from 15 business days to 30 business days. A provision has been included for the ADA Title II Coordinator's retention of copies for all written ADA complaints, appeals, and responses to be at least 3 years. We just ask for your approval, please.
Okay, we have any questions, commissioners? Comments? If not, a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. Spirit Services lease amendment, Mr. DeVito and Mr. Downey.
Good morning again. Now you have to listen to me, I guess.
You get the last word.
Yes, sir. In 2006, the county and Spirit Services entered into an agreement where Spirit Services were to provide services to run our pretreatment system, both the Nicodemus plant and at the Conococheague pretreatment facility. And part of that agreement was that Spirit Service was to transfer the lease and take ownership of the Nicodemus plant and then continue to operate the Nicodemus plant under a lease agreement. And when that agreement was first put in place in 2006, there was at the time that the Nicodemus lease is transferring from from the county to Spirit, there was a requirement in the agreement that required Spirit Services to provide a $300,000 indemnity of trust at the time of the transfer. Now that was done for the main reason that was done was to provide almost like a performance bond, because at the time the Spirit Services was relatively new in the area and we didn't really know that much about them. So to protect the county's interest, they required this $300,000 indemnity of trust. Well, Spirit is in the situation right now and in the position to transfer that ownership of Nicodemus from the county to them. And they would like, and they're asking in one of these, there's two actual amendments here. One of them is just an amendment to the lease, and the other one is an agreement from the leachate. But when the actual transfer of the Nicodemus plant, they're asking that we forego the $300,000 indemnity of trust. And in conversations with Mr. Downey and others in the county and with Sarah, because we've got, since 2006, they've been a terrific partner of ours, and they've operated both facilities under our permit. We issued the permit to them, so we have direct control over their operation, and we've watched their operation over the years. And when this transfer happens, we feel that at this point, since we have this, since 2006, this really strong history, and this history of cooperation with them, that the requirement or a performance bond is really not necessary. So we will continue to issue permit to them as they operate both Nicodemus and the Conococheague plant. The Conococheague plant remains in the county's ownership, and they will continue to operate it under a lease agreement. But the Nicodemus plant will transfer completely over to Spirit Services. And this, one of these amendments asks that the $300,000 indemnity of trust be removed from that requirement. And we all agree that that would be a fair and right thing to do. Now, for the leachate agreement, as part of that financial agreement, they would like to have a little more clearer understanding of our responsibilities towards them in terms of providing leachate. They service and they take care of all the leachate that's provided or that's produced at the landfill. Last year it was in the neighborhood of 27 million gallons. In the original agreement, it was kind of vague, and it pretty much allowed them to, they were to have a minimum allocation for us of 9 million gallons. So there was absolutely nothing talked about anything over 9 million gallons. So all their responsibility to us was to have allocation of 9 million gallons. Well, that doesn't come anywhere near what we're using it for. So in this leachate agreement, what they're asking for is that we define that and that we guarantee them between 10 and 30 million gallons of leachate every year. Now, and we at a certain price, and the price is listed, I think it's 4 cents a gallon, 4.8. And in return, what they're going to do for us is that they're going to give us a discount for 6 months retroactive to July 1st, 2018 until December 31st. They're going to reduce the amount that they're giving us, and that depending upon the amount of leachate that we produce between now and the end of the year, it's somewhere in the vicinity of $20,000 credit to our department. And also part of what we're doing with the MS4 permits is that we have to track the septic tanks that are pumped in the county, and the county actually gets credits for all the septic tanks that are pumped in the county. We have no way of controlling that right now. We have no way of tracking where those septic tanks are and how often are they pumped and all that. And Spirit has agreed in return to help facilitate this agreement, that they've agreed that they are going to help us and finance a promotional program that any authorized septic hauler in the county will get can offer to their customers about a $75 to $100 voucher. So when they get their septic tank pumped, their cost of having that process done will be reduced by $75 directly to the customer. We haven't worked out the total details. $75 to $100. Roughly, the whole program will cost Spirit about $50,000. Then in conjunction with that, they will also provide our department with the information on the number of gallons and the location of each of these septic tanks that are pumped, which we can then turn into credits for the MS4 permit. So we've looked at it, we've talked about it with Sarah and with Kirk Downey, and we feel that it is a win-win on both sides, and that we ask for your approval for the amendment and the agreement.
Before you do that, commissioners, if you wouldn't mind, Sarah is here, and her name was mentioned, but it's not in the concurrences. However, mine is. So I'd like to be clear that if Sarah is on board and not, so as not to put you on the spot, if you're not, that's fine too. I just would like to be clear that you've reviewed this appropriately for the numbers.
Yeah, sorry, commissioners. Yeah, I didn't know you were going to mention me so many times, or I would have sat there. But yes, you have my concurrence. I have reviewed this with Dan Vito.
Okay, any questions, comments, commissioners, before we vote?
Terry, I do. Dan, I would assume with the record amount of rainfall we've had this year that at some point in time, you anticipate record amount of leachate in retrospect? I mean,
well, in conjunction with that, you're absolutely right. I mean, this month alone, we've had 5 inches of rain so far in November. So it's the amount of rain that we've had is historic, to say the least. And the leachate in conjunction with that is also historic. But what we've done is we've been actively trying to, diminish the amount of leachate that's produced. We've Dave and his staff have regraded the entire area, and we've done several things to try to reduce that amount of leachate that's being produced. And we continue to plan on making that a very active process at the landfill, is to make sure that we are cognizant of the amount of leachate that's being produced, and we're doing everything possible to reduce that amount, because that reduces our cost.
That deserves credit to Dave, Dan, and Jim, who have been working on the slope adjustments so that the swale is not inside the leachate collection system, but the swale is actually outside the leachate collection system. One, with Dan's support and Dave here now in place, we've been able, it's been a long-standing engineering issue that I've been familiar with for years, and we've just had now the support to get it done, and it could save hundreds of thousands of dollars, correct?
Absolutely.
So very exciting. Kudos to the three gentlemen involved. And Sarah's aware of this too, I know. So these numbers, we're looking at the operational costs, and this is a big savings for us. Very, very glad to share that with you.
So who owns the Nicodemus facility?
Right now, we do. The county does. And they've been operating. And part of that agreement, and what they would like to do, is they would like to, in conjunction and compliance with the original agreement, transfer the ownership from the county to the Spirit Services.
So if we own it, we get a lease rent off of it?
They pay us to operate both plants. When that Nicodemus transfers to them, we will continue to get rent from the Conococheague plant. And the Conococheague, the amount of rent that we receive will not be reduced. We'll still get the same amount of rent.
On the Conococheague plant, what do we currently get for the Nicodemus plant?
The Nicodemus plant, we don't get, it's not specifically laid out that
We own it
there's
and
a
don't get
lease
any
amount.
money?
No, sir.
So we own it and don't make anything?
Well,
No, the
we-
historical,
oh, go ahead.
historically, when this came about, and I think the county began talking about it in the early 2000s, and this lease was finalized after a lot of negotiation in 2006. The primary emphasis of the lease was on the Conococheague pretreatment facility. Nicodemus was sort of an incidental part of a much larger deal. And Spirit had the opportunity to request at some point after the first anniversary of the lease that the Nicodemus plan be transferred to them under the terms of that lease. So essentially, the theory under the lease was the first year's lease payments were what amounted to the consideration for the Nicodemus plant.
I'm really confused now. I don't know. So, any other questions, comments, commissioners?
I have a question. The $50,000 in credit vouchers, is that on an annual basis? Is there a time frame that we're limited, the public is limited to using those? And also, would the county be kicking in any money? I know some neighboring jurisdictions offer similar programs.
Exactly. I mean, this program came to our awareness because of I think it's in Frederick, and one of the haulers here in Washington County, actually, she is active on our advisory board, brought the program to us and said, this is something that we probably should look at. And both Alex and John Swagger, who run our MS4 program, thought this would be terrific because, again, we have no way of really tracking all this, and this is credits that are available to us. I believe there's somewhere in the vicinity of 20,000 septic tanks in Washington County. And if we were able to pump those and get those credits, and this is, again, a win-win scenario for just about everybody. We get the information, we get the credits from our MS4 to help us comply with our MS4 permit. The haulers get increased service because they're going to be hauling and they're going to be increasing their company's services because we're going to be promoting them. And Spirit also increases because they're going to be getting increased septic coming into their tank, which they charge for and they treat. So it's an investment on their part, and it's a win-win for everybody because there's a part of all of this that benefits each one of the participants. Are you still confused?
Yeah.
The Nicodemus plant was originally designed in the very early parts of the lease to transfer ownership. So it should have been transferred a long time ago. And for many, many reasons, it hasn't been, and they are in a position to do it now. And it is in the county's best interest for them to do that because, again, they've been a terrific operator, but the liability and everything that's along with that particular plant is still on us. And when we transfer that over to them, they take that responsibility.
We can return it to the board if you'd like in
Yeah, I'd like
different fashion if you'd prefer.
Yeah, I'd like to.
I think Jason's here. He can explain it maybe a little bit better.
Sure. With regard to, well, let me answer Commissioner Keever's question real quick. The $50,000 commitment is an annual commitment with regard to that program. And the details are yet to be worked out. So what Spirit has committed to do was that level of contribution. The details of the program and logistics still be worked out mutually with the county. With regard to Nicodemus, Kirk's right. There's a long history with regard to that property dating back to the original CIPF lease agreement in 2006. And Nicodemus was, without question, sort of an afterthought to that lease agreement. The primary property at issue was the CIPF, the pretreatment facility. The long history of Nicodemus started probably 3 or 4 years ago. The property wasn't zoned correctly for its use with the town of Williamsport. Right. So I got involved at that point in time to get the property rezoned. The town didn't want to rezone the property until there was a commitment by Spirit Services to build a secondary means of access to the property instead of using Lockwood Road. Right. Lockwood Road, very heavily trafficked to get back to that facility, lots of residential properties in close proximity to that road. So there was a condition of the rezoning to get a secondary road to the property. The secondary road needed to go across an adjacent property owner. I spent a year or two negotiating with that property owner to get across their property. The property then connected to the private driveway of the old Potomac Edison power plant in the back. Potomac Edison did not want us connecting to their private driveway, so we were at a standstill. I spent another year or two with them, getting them to actually dedicate a portion of their private driveway to the town of Williamsport, so the private driveway would turn into a public road. The end of the day, we have a new public road dedicated to the town of Williamsport, a new secondary access road constructed by Spirit Services to get from the public road to the Nicodemus plant, and the intervening property owner happy because they now have an accessible piece of property. That took a while. That's now finally done. So the conversation with regard to transferring Nicodemus led me to Dan's doorstep to make the request to transfer Nicodemus. That then led to a conversation about, well, what are we doing with the CIPF lease agreement? Can we talk about maybe early payment on that lease agreement? We had that conversation for about 6 months. Ultimately, we couldn't quite get there to figure that out. We boiled that down to, let's just do a very simple lease amendment that clarifies several points with regard to the CIPF lease agreement, transfer Nicodemus. Everybody's happy from that point forward. The added bonus was that we talked about this leachate agreement that provided the mutual benefits that Dan referred to. So there's a short version of the long history. Hopefully that helps.
When's that second drive going in?
It's under construction right now. Completion, weather permitting, will be in the next couple of months. It's well underway. They found some unsuitable soils in there. There was some illegal dumping going on for years, and they had to deal with that. So it's not been an easy project to get done, but it's right on the cusp. So hopefully that helps.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions, comments, commissioners? Okay, if none, we need to move forward with to approve the Second Amendment to lease and the leachate agreement. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Davidoff. Okay. Fort Ritchie, conveyance of historic preservation easement, Mr. Sterling and Mr. Downey.
afternoon, good morning.
Good morning.
This is basically a follow-up to something we discussed several months ago about trying to get the property turned over to MHT, Maryland Historical Trust. But they desire a preservation easement over a portion of Fort Ritchie property, essentially the parade ground surrounding buildings, the finger buildings, down to Lakeside Hall and the building next to it. I can't think of the number of it, but that's the acreage area. It's about probably 60, 65 acres. Fort Ritchie property includes the Camp Ritchie Historic District, which is listed in the Maryland Register of Historic Properties and is eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places. The deed to the property contains a historic property and preservation covenant in the favor of the State Historic Preservation Officer that places certain restrictions upon development and alteration of the property. The State Historic Preservation Officer, the trust, and the county agree that redevelopment of the property is in the best interest and long-term preservation of the historic district will be best served by, one, conveyance of historic preservation easement to MHT, and two, by subsequent waiver by the State Historic Preservation Officer of rights and responsibilities contained in this covenant. This is a process that I believe PMDC started 2 years prior to us taking over, and we've been dealing with this for 2 years, getting all the information together and trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together to make this happen. There is a little drawing on the second page that if you want to see where the outline is. Now, we were lucky enough to get this reduced in size to make it a lot smaller than what it was.
I think that's important to know, that this isn't entirely an option just to say we're receiving it, but it's also a reduction.
Reduction in the overall area that was originally requested by the state.
Okay, any other comments or questions by the commissioners? If none, we need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second, we need a second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Sterling.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move back to the front of the agenda. We'll go to commissioners' reports and comments. Any commissioners? We'll start with Commissioner Kiefer.
Oh, I would just like to keep the commissioners comprised of a new committee that we formed earlier this summer. The second meeting was held yesterday of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and officers were appointed, if that might be of interest to us. Mr. Arthur Hicks will serve as chair, Ms. Zuni Miller will serve as vice chair, and Mr. Carlos Malat, who left, will serve as recording secretary.
Thank you. Commissioner Klein.
Yes, good afternoon or good morning, everyone. Special note of thanks to the election board for the job that they performed this election cycle and all the hard work. But also thank all the folks who went out and voted and participated in our democracy. And to all the candidates who ran, whether you won or lost, thank you for your commitment to serve. And I see two candidate-elects there in the audience. Thank you for attending today. And over the weekend, I attended several Veterans Day events. I couldn't be more proud of Washington County and our community keeping our veterans at the forefront, just not only during this weekend, but every day. So there was a lot of events and participation for our veterans. So I want to thank all those who had served.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Myers.
I don't want to repeat what Jeff said, but I will say congratulations to my friends Randy and Court. Did a good job. Congratulations, and we'll expect much more out of you than what they expected out of us. I have other comments to make, but being I guess the 27th will be our last official meeting as commissioners. I'll have more to say then.
Thank you. Commissioner Barr.
Again, also, congratulations, gentlemen. Well deserved. Worked hard for the last 9 months, and likewise, I'll save some comments for our last meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Barr. For myself, congratulations. Looking forward to working with both of you. I think you'll be outstanding county commissioners. If your ability to campaign translates to your ability to work as a county commissioner, you're going to be pretty awesome. So I just wanted to say congratulations and best of luck. And I'd also like to echo many of, don't need to echo, but I'd like to thank Commissioner Klein for his comments with all of the hard work from our election board and the voter turnout. And I'm just so thankful to be able to serve for another 4 years. But again, just thank you to everyone, and wish the new elected officials the best of luck. Thank you. Report.
Also add a congratulations.
No.
That's one of the downsides of going first. Sometimes you don't think of everything. So congratulations to you guys. Looking forward to the next 4 years, and to the Board of Elections for pulling off another great but tough election. I think there's hundreds of election judges. I don't know the exact number, but they work hard throughout that day, from sun up to sundown, making sure our elections go off smoothly. And I'm just grateful that we have a great team at that board.
Thank you. Last chance, commissioners. Okay, reports from county staff. We have any staff members in the chambers that care to provide a report? Mr. Seifert.
Morning again.
Good morning.
2 items here. First of all, in 2015, the county commissioners gave land preservation staff the approval to seek 50% matching easement dollars for 2 of our projects. And the expectation was that we would have 50% from Rural Legacy, the other 50% from NRCS. Well, after 3 years, we've had difficulty getting the DNR and NRCS attorneys to agree on the easement language as well as other problems. So just want to let you know, since you did approve this item, we're going to go 100% with Rural Legacy funding for these 2 projects and just move ahead and get them done. Are there any questions on that? Oh, okay.
So you'll have those done this afternoon for us?
Yeah, we'll have them done hopefully soon, early 2019. It's been dragging for so long. So the other item then, land preservation staff has been working with folks in Frederick County on all levels of conservation efforts. An effort through Maryland Environmental Trust. They're forming what they're calling a regional conservation partnership. These have sprung up throughout the country, and the idea is to have the many different organizations, both government and private, who are involved with conservation efforts to work together, kind of a clearinghouse, meet occasionally to combine our efforts. And the thoughts are perhaps for us, we can get more money for land preservation. That's the part we're looking at. So far, we're just in a advisory capacity. We may increase our participation here in the future. That's yet to be determined. But in case you see something in the news, this is supposed to be rolled out next week at Hood College on the 19th. So it will be called the Heart of Maryland Conservation Alliance, and we'll be attending that, and then we'll have more information to follow. Any questions on that? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other staff here today care to provide a report?
Good afternoon. Deb Payton, Director of Health and Human Services. This morning we had the pleasure of filling 8 positions. Director of Public Works, we promoted Andrew Eshelman. I believe he's in here today. There he is. Would you like to say a few things?
Really excited to continue to serve the county in this role, and looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations.
We also promoted or hired an IT training specialist for information technology, Cody Robinson, Chief Plant Operator of Water Quality, Justin Smith, a collection operator for water quality Tyler Forrest, a laboratory technician 1 at water quality Sierra Payne, apprentice wastewater treatment plant operator for water quality Aaron Carball, and another apprentice wastewater treatment plant operator at water quality Angela Mills. And lastly, we filled the position of the assistant director of emergency services for emergency management with Tom Brown.
Do we need a vote on Mr. Brown, or just never mind, go ahead.
Do they need a vote?
You have voted in the past on others.
You voted in closed session.
Okay, but we vote in open session. Okay, so we need a motion to approve all those positions, or just?
You already did in closed session.
Okay, I know we did, but
Okay.
we need to vote on Andrew and Tom Brown in open session, I believe.
Make a motion to approve all the positions that were presented.
Okay, a motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other staff reports? Ms. Small?
Good morning, Commissioners. And, this morning, the Department of Business Development and Maryland Department of Commerce is working with Chief on a 100-room hotel project along City Corp Drive and Breeze Hill Drive. And I'm here today to ask the Commissioners to sign a support letter to the city to grant an exception to the city's wastewater and water policy to include this project, since the city presently provides water service to businesses along City Corp and Breeze Hill Drive.
So moved.
Motion is second for the approval of that. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other staff in the chambers care to provide a report? Mr. Hayes? Still morning. Good morning again.
We got a couple minutes yet. I think we're in good shape. Good morning. David Hayes, Director of Emergency Services. I have with me Jennifer Swisher, Emergency Services Programs Administrator, and Kelly Fisher, who is our Supervisor for the Emergency Communications Center. And we're here to recognize her today for being selected as the Supervisor of the Year by the Emergency Number Systems Board. And I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Swisher to give you a little history and details on where that goes.
Every year, in conjunction with the Maryland Emergency Numbers Association, as well as the Emergency Number Systems Board, each primary answering point can recognize one of their employees for their stellar work that they do in their 911 center. This year, our team selected Supervisor Kelly Fisher to receive that award. And we're proud of Kelly and the job that she does for the 911 center, her dedication and loyalty to our group, to her subordinates. She's looked up to by all of our staff, and we're here to congratulate her for a job well done at not only the state level, but here at the county level.
Congratulations, and let's give her a round of applause. And we also have a nice certificate of recognition, and that'll be provided by Commissioner Kiefer.
Several months ago, earlier this year, I had an opportunity to just pop in
Okay, any other reports to be provided from county staff and chambers? That concludes that part of it. We have Mr. Hovish. You have anything to provide to the commissioners?
I'll defer to the administrator.
Okay, Mr. Slocum.
First, interim county attorney. Anything?
No issues today.
Okay. Why don't you get the legal out of the way first?
There must be a reason.
You're doing
Yes.
pretty good, no issues.
There must be a
Yeah,
reason.
that's good. Well, first of all, before anything, Jim Sterling, and this is hard to say and share, but Jim Sterling has submitted his resignation. He is in the retirement plan and has submitted that resignation. It just dawned on me the timing of your next meeting will not be next week, but it'll be the following week. And Jim is here, and I'd like to, if we could get a picture with Jim during the meeting, I'd really appreciate that together.
No way, no way. I'll take the picture.
So I'm not going to let it go without saying that the Jim, whether it was snow, rain, we've had both, wind probably here and there. My nearly 17 years here, Jim has always been there and has always responded. His terms were 4 hours or less, and I think he often beat that by probably 3.5 hours. So I will sorely miss Jim. I'm very proud of Andrew, and I've seen him come up through and do a very nice job. But today's day is for Jim, and Jim Sterling will be sorely missed. I know that the two of you will be working closely together. I think you've also already been out together and introducing Andrew to various county employees and showing him the ropes per se. But I think as much as you can share with Andrew, Jim, your sentiments and your perspective is incredibly valuable. How many years? 35 years. So, and you started in what department?
Assistant supervisor of highways.
So it's a testament to how people can and have worked up through the ranks in Washington County. So before we leave, if we could get a picture with Jim, I do have a couple other things to say very quickly, if that's okay, President Baker and Commissioners. First of all, Tom Brown, I have worked with Tom. He will be the Assistant Director of Emergency Services. Congratulations to him. Andrew Eshelman, worked with Andrew for a number of years. Andrew, with the support of the two men beside him and a few others, as well as Jim, did a very nice job and it continues to do a very nice job with South County, keeping us apprised, keeping it programmatic, handling the National Park Service and communication diligently and forward-thinking. To his and Scott's credit, Sandy Hook Road is back open, and I don't think without the two of them it would have been until springtime at least. So that's evidence of the kind of work that Andrew can do with the gentleman sitting beside him, and I'm looking forward to his promotion when it becomes effective. In addition, as you said, Commissioners, the election board, I did send out a thank you to those who served our country. Barry Jackson from the election board happened to send he was actually busy working yesterday, so I know they're still working and were working yesterday, which I think is a testament to their commitment. And through the transition, thank you, congratulations, Mr. Meinelschmidt. And I wanted to thank Krista Hart, who, working together, is doing an incredible job through the transition. Having not been through this before as staff, our office is trying to handle it most appropriately and proactively. And I got to say, Krista has been front and center with handling of that transition. So thank you to Krista. And I'll get to say goodbye to you two gentlemen next 2 weeks from now. But a lot of emotions today that are difficult to overcome. So that's all I had. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hovis. We don't have any county attorney issues. We have any boards and commissions?
We do. The Washington County Agricultural Education Center wishes to reappoint Mr. Jay Miller to serve a first full 3-year term from May 1st, 2018 through April 30th of 2021. Mr. Miller has currently served a partial unfulfilled term due to the resignation of another member from May 1st, 2017 through April 30th of 2018.
Motion to.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
We also have the Washington County Plumbing and HVAC Board wishing to reappoint Mr. Gary Price as the Master HVAC Representative to serve a third term through October 31st of 2021.
Motion to approve. Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
And lastly, we have the Area Agency on Aging Advisory Council. They wish to appoint Mr. Harry Wagaman to serve an unexpired term through January 31st of 2019. In addition, they are also requesting that upon that expiration in January that he is reappointed to serve a first full term effective February 1st, 2019 through January 31st of 2021.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. That's it. Okay, anything